Do you and Kelly go on a date for Valentine's Day?
No, we don't really observe a Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
Never have. Never really been a big part of what we do. So, what about you guys?
When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
Well, it's technically an odd numbered podcast episode, but
I realized we didn't talk about who was going to be hosting, so I was like, I'm just going to play chicken with you now, see who talks first. So I'll greet the people. Hello, good-looking
all
people.
right.
We are Dads Meet World, your weekly deep dive into the 90s classic show known as Boy Meets World. I'm just going to say it, Brett, we're the number one fan podcast. That's what we are. I'm claiming it. We're the number
That's
one
right.
Dads Meet or Boy Meets World podcast.
Who's going
Fan
to
style.
challenge us? Who's going to
Yeah,
say we're
who's
not?
going to say that we're not, right?
Hey, our
I dare you.
Instagram has picked up 5 new likes in the last week. So there you go.
Yeah, take that. Definitely not Dad's or Boy Meets World Fever. Punks. That's right, Chance. We're calling you out.
Oh, yeah.
But
How's
this
it
is
going?
our seasonal report card where we
Yes,
take
it
a look
is.
back at our podcast and we talk about the show, as a whole. What did we experience as we were recording? What did our grades look like? And, you know, what are maybe some of the points of this show that we need to talk about just a little bit more, Brett? Because let's be honest for a moment. This season had some real high highs and some mid-tier moments and one or two real low to the
There
ground
were
moments
some
for us.
lows, I
So
can tell you that.
yeah, and maybe Brett and I need to have a little bit of a back and forth chat on who's whom of Boy Meets World fandom and what episode should have been ranked higher for the other one. But Brett, I think we need to get into those that report card, the actual scores we gave.
All right. And good looking people, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I would recommend you go ahead and watch on YouTube just for the benefit of seeing this report card graphic and these graphs that I'll share. I do share these on Instagram and Facebook and X after we're done, but it's always good to see these live as we're
It is.
sharing them. But here's our report card breakdown. Ah, yes. And in looking at it, our season-long report card, Tyler, you came out with a 88.5% for the season. Meanwhile, I came out with an 82.2% for the season. So yeah, that's how we look at it. And it's these are our grades, B minus, A plus, C minus, A, B plus, C minus, C plus, A minus, A plus, A, B minus, A plus, A minus, A plus, A. And you know what? Instead of sitting here and reading all of these, I'm gonna just share your graph because it's just much more fun that way. If I can bring these up.
Let's see my face.
Yeah. I like to see that little disembodied head.
Nice and creepy.
There we go. There's the disembodied heads floating around.
Very nice.
This is your graph. It's not too it's not as much of a it really is just like every season. Kind of wonky the first half of the season, then it kind of hits its groove in the second half for the most part.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. How to Succeed as a Business. I think I gave it a C minus because of Eric's storyline, if I remember correctly, because Corey's stuff and Sean is just trash.
It's so bad.
I think oh gosh, I'm confusing myself now. Is that the episode where Amy takes a class with Eric.
I believe so.
I believe so too. I think that's the only reason that's at C minus, because I think if I remember correctly, I said that the Corey storyline is a D, maybe even D minus, but Amy and Eric's storyline squeaks that episode up because their storyline is amazing and I love that storyline. But gosh, Corey's stuff is bad. Honestly, we might need to go through and do a how we felt about Corey's journey this season, because my goodness, he just this is
Corey
by far the
was,
whiniest he gets.
yeah, it really is. So that's kind of your graph there. Let's take a look at my graph, because my graph was a little bit different here.
Ah! Oh my gosh.
Yeah, mine is all over the place.
Yours looks like we're at the hospital, Brett, and we're trying to
Mine
find a pulse.
Mine is a heart attack. Mine looks like a pretty good looking roller coaster, in fact.
Yeah,
I
no,
hope you didn't wake up any of your kids.
yours is crazy.
Yeah. I had some really extreme highs and some really low lows this season.
I forgot that you were basically either A throughout most of the season or like a C to D tier. Like the amount of B's you have is not very much.
Yeah, I either loved them or hated them this season. It was a very polarizing season for me. Yeah, and when we overlay them together, this is what it looks like. Look at all those little disembodied heads floating around. We can see some really stark differences in our grades, especially at the end there. But yeah, it was a rough season for me, which comes as a surprise to me, because always in the back of my mind, I would think of season 5 as one of my favorites. But I went back through our grade book so far. Season 5 is actually my least highest graded season so far. For the breakdown for my seasons, season 1 is still my highest at a 91%. Season 3 at an 88.6. Season 4 at an 88. Season 2 at an 85. And then this season at an 82.2. For you, season 4 at a 91. Season 3 at a 91. So they tied, so you can flip a coin as to whichever one goes actually first. Season 5 is third for you at 88.5.
I believe it.
Or no, sorry. Season 2 is third for you at 86. Season 5 is fourth for you, which is where it falls. It falls at fifth for me. Season 1 is actually your least highest graded for you at 85%, where it's number 1 for me.
Well, I mean, but honestly though, Brett, that is part of the difference in where we are both at in our lives. As you are in the realm of teenagers, you are in the same spot roughly as Alan Matthews is. And even I'll go as far as to say you had the Alan Matthews, is this what I want to keep doing with the rest of my life, a few years ago. So I can fully understand why you relate so much this first season. And I don't know. I just will always have love for 3 and 4. It's really going to be interesting for me as we get into season 6 and 7, because those are the ones that I always look at as my favorite years of Boy Meets World. And will that hold true? I don't know.
We will find out.
We will.
So yeah, that's our grades for this season.
Brett, I do have an important question for you.
Yes.
So, do you think they get engaged?
I don't know. I don't think Corey can say yes.
I mean, how could he?
He was so neurotic throughout everything. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can go through with it.
Gosh, I I will say one of the things that's always interested me about the proposal, and again, we're not talking about the proposal yet, but as we sit in 2025 right now as recording, this is so far removed from, well, it's the 90s. What happens in the 90s happens in the 90s. Like, you have now, it is not that uncommon that for a woman to propose to a man and vice versa. And, the way in which we talk about gender norms, gender roles, and a lot of that has been kind of toppled enough that it's really whoever is the person that wants to propose, they propose. So, um, and I stand firm on some of the advice we'll talk about as we actually get into the real proposal, Brett. But as we get into real proposal talk, because clearly we can't have that now.
Oh
Um,
yes, not yet.
but it's so fascinating as we reflect on this season of the attitudes they had and how radical it was that a female character proposes to a male character
Hmm.
in a 90s television show. So,
Yeah, I mean that was pretty groundbreaking. You didn't see that happening very often, especially on network TV. Outside of at that point, I think the other biggest woman proposing to a man would have been on. Oh well, probably Friends. I don't know if it had happened yet in the time frame. No, I don't think it had happened yet because that's late Friends.
mm-hmm.
So really, I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head where it had been the woman proposing to the man at that point, where it had really been huge. I'm sure it had. This is from my own memory off the top of my head, but it wasn't the
Yeah.
norm. They were breaking the mold.
Well, I mean, I will say that um, the proposal between Chandler and Monica were both equal proposals from my vantage
That
point.
is
So,
true. Yeah, so we can put that one in there. That
mhm,
was I'm sure that one had happened by this point. That was early enough in the run.
interesting. Any hoozles, Brett, what's a high for you from this season?
I'd say one of the highest for me was Sean's growth. I
Yeah.
mean, we've kind of seen some little bursts here and there over the first four seasons, but we really saw a lot of consistent growth for him through this series, through the season this year. From someone who was just kind of lackadaisical to someone who really found direction and found a sense of purpose and place in the world by the time the season wrapped up. He had
Mm-hmm.
a plan. It wasn't the typical plan, but he had a plan for life after high school that wasn't going into selling tires like dad did or buying scratch off tickets outside the grocery store. And it wasn't going into college either. He had a different plan that was rooted in his passions. And he learned to, he learned what love is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say Sean's growth. What about you?
I think for me, it's the fact that, well, it's the Matthews boys, I guess, is the way I'll phrase it, because Eric officially is kicked out of the nest. Eric is officially becoming his own person. Yes, he wants to spend time with his father, still do stuff with him, but he is balancing a life without always being around his parents. He's developing a real friendship, and for Corey, he is he's going through that awkward growth of leaving high school, but more importantly, finally starts to grow his relationship with the love person he says is the love of his life, and they actually start to communicate.
Go figure.
Right. So, and it's that in the beginning of this season, literally there'd be points where Corey would have no idea what was going on with Topanga. Topanga would show up for 5 seconds and be like, Corey, you got to do this. And then would be be gone. And at the end, it's them at prom saying, we did diagrams to figure out what it is that is most important to us.
Yes.
So it's an actual finally communicating with each other. And I don't care what Sean says, he was being supportive in that last episode. And the only person I say he wasn't being very supportive was Sean himself. So, Brad, what was a low point you really want to throw at this season?
I'd say the whole breakup got really confusing and frustrating, and just they played it out really weirdly. Like they kind of rushed and drug their feet at the same time in the storytelling. And I felt like they could have either shortened it or played it out longer. It did not. And they played with the whole we were on a break type of thing without actually doing the we were on a break. It got too confusing and frustrating at times, and beyond the whole natural drama of a teenage breakup.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that was one of the low points. As a story element, yes, it brings natural drama into it, and it brought some good things into it, especially for Sean's development. But it really missed some opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it brought to light their irresponsible handling of underage drinking. What about you?
Yeah. Well,
I feel like I spent so much time in that episode, I don't have to rehash it.
here's the thing. We feel the difference, I think, is a good way to put it, between 90s television and today's television. Because in
Yes.
today's television, especially the way that streaming television works, it would either be a whole season where this is going down, or it'd be like an episode or two and then we'll move on. Like,
Yeah.
there is no in between.
Yeah,
And
and the fact that they did stretch it out for 6 or so episodes in 1998 is actually pretty impressive.
Mhm.
You didn't get much serialized storytelling, especially in a sitcom.
Mhm. So yeah, I just there is frustrations abound for sure. And at the end of the day, Brett, I mean, it'd be nice if how do you say this? It'd be nice if there was a true clear, hey, these are all the steps they need to get back together, where, as we talked about it before, it really just felt like they know we want to break them up and we know we want to get them back together, and let's see how we do it.
Yeah, that would have been helpful.
Yeah. I mean, we got probably one of the best episodes of the show out of that experiment for sure. Arguably, two of our favorite episodes this season came from that, in Eric Hollywood and then there was Sean.
Indeed, we would not have had those without the breakup storyline, but
Yep. Is there anything else you want to go through? You want to talk about?
anything that you might rewrite about the season?
Oh, yes, that's good. Um, could you pull up the ratings again?
Yes,
That would help me.
let me bring that up.
Because outside of not having the episode where Corey and Sean do business,
Business. All right, here they come. And I've thought about this, so I can go first.
yeah, go for it.
I would have rounded out the teaching staff better. I would have kept Turner around so that everything didn't fall on Feeney's shoulders. so that I could have also kept that relationship between Sean and Turner a little more central. Um, that would have been able that would have allowed them to have more opportunities for some interaction between adults and students at a level where it wouldn't have to be going to a parent or going to Feeney, and it could have given them a lot more potential story opportunities. Plus, it would have given us a lot of it would have given us a lot more opportunities to be in school, because we always complained that there was like 6 minutes of school in the entire
Yeah.
season, and it wouldn't have had Feeney teaching every single class. So I would have rewritten over the course of the season that we would have had more teaching staff, especially Mr. Turner.
Yeah, it's really disappointing that the second season, we had like 4 teachers
Yeah, we had Turner, we
consistently.
had Eli. Well, Eli came in 3, but we had we look at like season 3. We had Turner, we had Eli, we had Kat, we had Feeney. Um, there's another one or two that I can't think of. We had what's the science professor?
Oh, Dr. What's his face?
Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And then there's the
Mhm.
other one that was playing poker with them too.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah,
Blanking.
but yeah, I mean they had a much more well-rounded teaching staff visible. But by the time we get to senior year, it's just Feeney.
Mhm. I think overall, because I was just looking at Fraternity Row and I'm going, what the heck did Corey do that episode? Because the whole thing is them being in college and fraternity and yada yada yada. Maybe I got it, Brett. Let's do it. The thing I'd like to rewrite of this whole season is an understanding of the education system. Like what
Yes.
college is like, what it's not like. The
Oh, there you
fact
go.
that 2 freshmen go to talk to the dean of students? Brett, I would have never said a word in front of the man. Like, it's so ridiculous some of the things they would do. And like the fact they showed up to the man's house, I'm like, in what world do 2 random freshmen who live off campus know where the dean of students lives?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not information that they'd be giving out.
No. And it's the fact that Corey and Sean, as we just said, they don't spend any time actually in the school learning things. And you know, the earlier seasons would struggle at points because it would feel a little bit like they were just throwing Turner into scenarios where where he has something that he's teaching and that just happens to be the thing that's relevant to Corey's life. And I know they wanted to do that a little bit with Feeney, but it was harder to. But they made it work last season, and I don't know why this season they just ignored it.
Yeah,
Like they
it's
ignored opportunities in the classroom, opportunities for them to grow and to learn, and to accept that there's more they have to learn. Like most things they learned are the special assignments that Feeney gave them outside of normal education.
yeah, the stuff that an educator would not really be allowed to assign.
Right. And again, if you want to if they wanted so badly for them to not do things in the school, I get it. Set it in the summertime then. But
Mm-hmm.
like the fact is that we spend so little time actually in the school consistently is just annoying to me.
We
And
did
the
a lot of
fact that
stuff
out
on
of
the
nowhere they have a
weekend.
work study program, I'm sorry, your dad owns a business. Why aren't you working there after school?
Mm-hmm. You're
Like,
probably already doing stuff there after school. You're probably
like
already
just make that
having to do
canon.
stuff there after school.
Why does the showrunner not want to make things canon? Just establish Corey and Sean work at the store after school. They go there for a couple of hours. They work there on Saturdays in the morning. The store is closed on Sundays because of family day. Whatever, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, make it make sense, Brett. Because again, Sean, who's quote unquote poor, can go on all of these dates. He can constantly have money. Corey is always throwing down deposits left, right, and center. His budget is limitless as a high schooler.
Think
Like,
you needed Borelli's.
it's just why?
Yeah,
I can't think of any way better to end it other than just why.
I agree.
All right. Well, Brett, we need to end this this special report card with the only way I know how to, Brett,
All right.
and that's by finishing up talking about the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
Again, we spent so much of the first season talking about sports, and I enjoyed that, and then that went away, and it got sad because Corey is against sports for whatever reason.
He found girls.
Yeah, found girls.
A
So,
girl.
Brett, let's just finish up and discuss the fact that the Chicago Bulls, around the same time as this season is closing up, is in the playoffs, and they go on to win the NBA championship. And they have not won one since.
All right. So what does that tell you, people?
Yep. So 1997, 1998 Chicago Bulls season, head coach Phil Jackson. He's a pretty big deal. Rest in peace, Jerry Krause. Does not get enough credit, in my opinion, at this point, but still, rest in peace. They won the championship. They went against the New Jersey Nets. Then they went against the Charlotte Hornets. They went against the Pacers. And then finally, they played the Utah Jazz in 6 games to clinch. Some notable players, Michael Jordan, of course. This is also the last season that Michael Jordan will play for the Bulls. Along that, we have Scottie Pippen. This is Scottie Pippen's last season also with the Bulls. Scottie Pippen, I didn't know this, but actually tried to request a trade midway through the season. This is made very clear he was not playing for the Bulls and was not going to whatsoever. And luckily, he was convinced that, yes, let's just go for one more. Other notable names, Dennis Rodman. I think he's way more famous for everything else he does besides basketball.
Everything off the court.
Yep. Steve Kerr, also a legendary coach now in the NBA. Tony Kukoc. I'll just go through all. Keith Booth, Randy Brown, Judd Bulcher, Scott Burrow, Jason Caffey, Ron Harper, Joe Klein, Rusty LaRue, Luke Longley, Dickie Simpson, David Vaughn, and Bill Winnington. Now, Brett, again, I bring up all that because one of the things that people constantly talk about is that, Michael Jordan did all this stuff all on his lonesome. He didn't. He did play all 82 games, but, you have to have a team around yourself. And one of the things that I always loved about the first season was that the Phillies constantly were either not doing well on the writing, but were doing really good in real life, or
Yep.
one of the teams they were saying, "Oh my gosh, they're doing so great," but then really in real life they were having a horrible season. So the writers never knew anything really about the Phillies or Eagles or Flyers or 76ers. They just knew, hey, here's a famous name. Let's talk about them. Or they would bring up a completely opposite team that they would never use because, they don't know anything about the fandom that is Philadelphia sports. And it is
a unique fandom.
as we know, because they just won the Super Bowl, it is a different world in Philadelphia when it comes to their sports.
It is.
So
it is its own world.
yeah. So Brett, as most things, Chicago Bulls, thank you for your service, and we appreciate you giving us a break through all the chaos that is, and bringing us a little sanity when this show did not want to give it to us.
Yes.
We'll need a new distraction for next season.
Yeah. Well, good looking people. Thanks for checking in on our report card.
Yes.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We're going to take a brief little pause, give ourselves a chance to recharge. And we'll be back with season 6, where we get all new stuff, including a brand new cast member.
We'll find out. Did he say yes? What is his answer?
Did he say no? Or her answer?
Yes.
And we'll get to go to college finally.
Woo!
So until then, you can send us a message at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com or on one of our social channels, at dadsmeetworld, across Instagram, Facebook, X/Twitter, and on YouTube. And, if you want some sweet Dads Meet World swag, you can pick it up at dadsmeetworld.threadless.com. So until next time, I'll see you, good looking.
Back to you, good looking.
How can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid? I want to be normal, Spud.
We are the Timmers.
Read the Bible. Was that duckies? No, garbage.
This is good TV.
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.